now is that the door to the RV gets closed, so we keep some warm air inside here. I'm hoping that we get the Starlink going so that I don't lose internet connection and then I'm not coming through choppy. Alejandro will let me know if I'm coming in choppy or not.
Hmm.
Tonight we're going to be doing a more of a casual conversation, more of a casual episode. Each week we've been coming on and just been dropping different jewels, different master classes. And what happens is between each of our lives, between Alejandro's life, my life, Sam's life, Daryl's life, we all get caught up and we get busy either working on our business, working on ourselves, working on like other engagements that sometimes this is the time we get to talk, right? Like I don't get to jump on the phone casually with Alejandro at 1 o'clock in the afternoon because he's working, he's has a responsibility to his team, and I have a responsibility to my guys. When we get on the podcast, this is the time. Like I'm actually excited about tonight's conversation when I found out we were going to be able to hot seat one another and just find out what's happening in life, what's happening in business, and yeah, I'm actually, Alejandro, I'm actually kind of excited to kind of catch you up to speed with where I've been at and what's been going on out here, because I
Yep.
think everyone at this point is well aware that I've been doing a run across America with Andrew Linder and the team at Pear to Park. So it's been a crew of us, about 6 guys living in this RV, which, by the way, we got this RV sub 2, which was super dope. So we actually took over the mortgage payments on an RV, which I didn't know that you can do.
Oh,
Well, I did know that you can do it. I just had never done it. It was all theory until I bought this thing. So I'm in an RV with 6 guys going from Santa Monica Pier to Central Park, New York, while Andrew's wearing a 15-pound weighted vest, raising money for the prevention of human trafficking. We've raised over $75,000 so far by consistently putting in 40 plus miles per day of running. Andrew has already cleared a little over 2,000 miles, about 2,100 miles, which is just nuts to think about. Last week, I spent 4 of those 7 days doing the full days with him back to back. And just after 2 of those days, my body was like, can we go to sleep? Can we stop running? So he keeps showing up and consistently running. But with that, what's been going on is, for me personally, I'm still managing my business as well as being here for the team. And what it showed me was it's hard to be in 2 places at once. It's hard to do multiple
mm,
things at once and to grow 2 totally opposite, opposing avenues and 2 different veins at the same time. So ultimately, I made a decision to be fully present for the remainder of the 26, 25, however many more days we have left on this trip. And what that's allowed me to do is it's given me permission to disconnect from my business. It's given me permission to disconnect even from my customers and from my partners and from my work and things that are already in motion, get to stay in motion. And it's been giving me the opportunity to think about how I want to build going forward as I come home. And what's really been interesting is more and more, I've been just coming back to this idea of not necessarily working on marketing. I know we spoke about marketing last week, not really on sales, but actually working on product and fulfillment and really creating the best possible product possible, right? Like creating something that's so good for the people I work with, and for just for context, for anyone that's listening, and they're like, "Hey, what product are you talking about?" I'm primarily focused on my coaching business as a mindset coach, and I'm primarily focused on the masterminds, the wellness retreats that I put together for people. So the primary focus is how do we consistently increase the value there, and that's what my thought process has been on, and that's really where my mind's been at. It's been fully present here with running across the country, and it's been during those runs I've been getting moments of clarity that I'm just taking notes down as frantically as I can in my cell phone about how to improve my capacity to help other entrepreneurs, how to improve my capacity to put them in a position where they are mentally the sharpest, where they have all the right tools and the right skill sets to get back into their lives as badasses. Um, so yeah, that's really where the focus has been these last 54 days.
How does what's been like, I guess, the biggest realization? Because I know, Marlon, you've been away for a while now, or like away from the normal thing as the office, back in Arizona, chilling. What's been like one of the most like aha moments for you while you've been away from business? Because I feel like you probably start to pick up on things like, man, you know what? I probably don't need to be doing this or don't need to be doing X and Y. What's been like the biggest aha, and like you can't wait to get back and implement that when you go back home?
Yeah, great question. It's something that I realized I started listening to some audiobooks in the morning while we go for the run, and I was listening to Dan Martell, and Dan Martell made me realize that a thought process paradigm shift that needed to occur, that has occurred, was around the way I thought about hiring and the way I thought about leveraging the use of people that come into my organization. And I had realized I got caught up a little bit in hiring for the sake of growing the business versus hiring for the sake of buying back your time.
Hmm.
And this was a major paradigm shift because ultimately, as a business owner, as a founder, your most important asset, as started to realize, is the most important asset of the business is the CEO's time, right? It's the CEO's attention, it's the founder's time and attention. And that needs to be protected at all costs. So every hire that gets made isn't necessarily about growing the business, because if you only focus on growing the business, but you don't free up your time, you start to fall into the regular entrepreneurial trap of the business has grown, but now I have even more things to do, and I'm almost more and more shackled to the business. So shifting the thought process around, does this hire give time back to the founder? Am I making a hire that is ultimately bringing time back to me? And this obviously comes dependent on what people's business purposes and business intentions are. My intention behind business is very selfish to a degree. Outside of the I want to help my customers and serve my clients, I created a business so that I can have time freedom, so that I can have freedom of location, freedom of where I am, freedom of what I'm doing. So, with that being the case, if that's my objective, then that means everything that I do should be leading towards that end. And so, making those hires around the thought process of buy back my time, and even looking at, for example, my assistant and having a conversation. I had this conversation, actually, we had a meeting last week where I'm starting to implement this. What's up, Sam? I'm starting to implement with my assistant the rule that I am no longer allowed to see any emails before you see them.
Hmm.
Right? Like if an email gets to me before it went through you and it went through our filtration system, then I've done something wrong. Right? Like I am now using my assistant to screen emails, and that means being able to respond to the little nuance of, that invoice needs to be paid, or this person needs to be reached out to, or the insurance company needs X, Y, and Z, to ultimately give back my mental capacity to then be put into higher leverage activities. So that was one of those things that, again, like I had time to think about while I was on the road. And unfortunately, I haven't had as much time to implement all the things I want to be able to implement, because, like I said, I'm fully here and present for the period of park. Um, so that's been pretty cool, though. So I hope I answered the question.
Yeah, it does, man. Thank you for sharing. What's up, Sam?
What up, Sam Singh?
Hey guys, I'm sorry I'm late. I got locked out of StreamYard. I don't know why. And I'm sure there's something that I probably fudged up on. But good. Okay, that whatever the response was so intentional. What was the question? Because I'm so curious on what the question was, because that response was so good.
I would ask Marlon, what is, since he's been away from home, what is something that he's excited to go back home for and implement? Like, what has been an aha moment while he's been away? Like, maybe I don't need to be doing this in my business right now. What is that one thing? That's what he was explaining.
I dig it. Okay, amazing. So today, catch me up. So we're doing Hot Seat Tuesday, right?
Yeah,
Which is
we're
going to
doing
be
hot seats.
a
Which,
new series that we've never done before.
yeah.
Um, And I firmly believe I've had this idea for this podcast, guys, for a very long time. Because Marlon, you and I both agree that hot seats are some of the most powerful things ever. And no one does them for free. Nobody does them for free. And people do them, and they do them behind $10, $15, $20,000, masterminds and mentorships. The reality of the hot seat is it's potentially the most potent thing that someone can do is sit in a room with people who are, a step ahead of them, 10 steps ahead of them, and have the collective pour all their energy and capacity and resources into that one person. So today, do we know who we're going to be hot seating specifically?
So for today, we're just going to start with us, brother. Hot seating each other. I was telling Marlon, whenever Marlon and I have a conversation, or whenever you and I, Sam, have a conversation, is always some like dope shit just being talked about. And we've surpassed a certain level that we don't realize the level below. And I don't say that in a demeaning way, that can value so much from that conversation. And sometimes it's like, you ever like talk to Marlon and you just go back home and you're like, man, that was a great idea what Marlon was saying. And then you just implement it. Some reason you just 10x your business. So it's just like today.
I'll have chats with Marlon and I'll come back and I'm like, my takeaway isn't even that. My takeaway is I need to be a better human being. That's my stuff with Marlon, because he sees the world in a different light than I do, and so he approaches with so much positivity and good energy. And then what's cool is that Marlon is my proof of concept that gratitude reciprocates. Yeah. He is my proof of concept of that in this world, and something I didn't necessarily have. And I've seen him operate with so much gratitude, and I see that when he does that, opportunities immediately follow. And so I love it. Okay, so let's do this. Who do we want to start with today? Because I think that we can either pour into one person completely, or we can just kind of toss it around. And I think what might be the most powerful thing for us to do is moving forward. Whenever we do these, we might just bring guests on, and maybe even people from the audience. I think that would be amazing. But so for today, how do you want to run this, Alejandro?
Honestly, I was telling Marlon, let's just talk, bro. I think that's maybe the equivalent of just tossing it around. Just talk. Like, what are some things you're going through? What are some things you're looking to fix? What are some new things you're looking to implement? Just talk. So that way we're not too focused on, I don't know, if sometimes I feel like you're staging things when you are like on a specific topic. Let's just throw it out, see what happens. And I feel like that's how we get tons of great ideas between each other. But if you guys want to do it any other way, I'm down.
No, I love that. I love that. So Marlon, I have a question for you. You mentioned you've instituted this new policy with your assistant, and that's that no email should get to you. And by the time it does get to you, it should be something that is warranting your attention, right? Now, you're someone who runs multiple businesses, right? Like you're doing real estate. You have obviously the coaching stuff. There's other things that you and I lend together, right? Like we're literally in group chat right now talking about lending out like 92,000 or 50,000 or 60,000. So you've got a lot going on. I want to know, and I want people to understand this, right? Because people, they may say, or they may feel, and this is something, an epiphany that I've had recently, is we may feel that we want to at least see the emails, right? We at least want to be CC'd so we know and we're kept in the loop. Why not do that? Why do the hard line? Like, I don't even want to see it, right? I want everyone else to handle it. Why do you have it that way?
Because nothing should be calling our attention and basically distracting us. Because it's funny you say that. That was actually something I originally did do. I originally said, hey, I want to be CC'd. I had my partner CCing me in emails. I had my assistant CCing me in emails. And I was seeing every single email. And I was like, this is a waste of time. It's a waste of mental bandwidth. I don't need to know about this. Because what is the purpose of me knowing? It's not my job to do this. It's not my job to be aware. Like, I don't care about the tenant screening. I don't care about the insurance claims. I really don't. I just want to know that it's being done. And that can be delivered in the form of a report versus me actually needing to see the metadata. And that I didn't understand in the beginning. And I'm grateful to have been overwhelmed, because that's what it did. It overwhelmed me, Sam. Straight up, it overwhelmed me in the sense of it felt like here's a good analogy. It feels like you're working in an office and you're the boss and you have this like open door policy, but like your office is set in Times Square, New York, and every single human that walks by takes you up on that open door and walks in to say, "Hey,
Wow.
what are you doing?" That's ultimately what my email had become. My cell phone, I don't let it be that because it's constantly in, you know, this, it lives in do not disturb mode. And I don't really give out my cell phone number like I used to. So creating this system, and it's a new system for me, right? I am constantly looking for ways to improve. I'm constantly looking for ways to increase my ability to stay focused and have my attention go to where it matters. And so as of last Monday, this is something that I started implementing with my assistant. And I told her, hey, this is going to be bumpy at first. This is going to be weird. I'm going to screw things up for you. You're going to respond to emails in ways that I don't want you to respond. It's going to be a work in progress. And Karen was saying, she said, yeah, we're good. We'll figure this out. She's down to work with me, down to be weird. So I love this.
She's down to be weird. That's Marlon's pickup line when he goes to bars. I've actually seen him do it when he approaches women and he says, "Hey, you down to get weird tonight?" So
It's true.
okay, so this is very interesting. I actually love this. So me specifically, I finally begrudgingly hired an assistant, something that I've never done before, right? And I've hired probably, as far as like virtual assistants are concerned, right, overseas remote workers, I have probably hired at least 50 by now in like my almost 3 years of doing this. I've at least hired 50, and all of them were all for money making activities. And I want people to understand this. This is such a critical thing that Marlon's talking about. And Marlon was able to understand this realization a lot sooner than I was. It finally clicked for me now. It's like I've always knew it theoretically, but it didn't like internally click to the point where like I had to execute on it. And like it's like the best thing ever. So I understood to hire for money-making activities, right? It's a virtual assistant. They're cold calling. They're generating leads. They're, doing stuff in the CRM. Like that makes sense. They're making money. They're driving revenue into the business. Their tasks specifically are money-making activities. And what's become really interesting for me is to understand that an assistant, like a personal assistant, administrative assistant, executive assistant, these people all will drive revenue really. Did I just go mute for a second? Oh,
You did for a second.
you guys can hear me, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Now you're good.
Okay. So yes. So I'm now understanding that an executive assistant or a personal assistant or an administrative assistant, even though they're not directly driving dollars into your business, right? Like Marlon, your assistant who's, monitoring your emails, they're not prospecting, they're like filtering, right? That's not necessarily a directly money-making activity, but what they're allowing you to do is to be so much more potent in everything else that it is that you do. And so for me, it was really kind of interesting because I finally internalized that, and it took me until my dispositions director Sasha, Derek, you're at Squad Up, bro. We're so sorry we can't be there. My dispositions director Sasha is actually there. You should 100% connect with her because she's a badass. It wasn't until Sasha came to me and I saw that she needed the help. It's the funniest thing, bro. I basically hired an executive assistant for Sasha, and I'm just like piggybacking on it. And now that I'm seeing, because I'm like, Sasha makes the company money, let's help her and optimize her. What I'm now understanding, guys, is the simplicity of what Marlon just said. As long as like they have the capacity to like just make sure you field all the emails, so then you don't have to think about that anymore. It allows you to be so much more focused and potent in everything that it is that you do. And for me, the next big thing that I'm working on is all the master classes, all the things that I want to just creatively put to work, and all the big picture things that I know that we need to do. Guys, we just found out that I have crossed, in my 2.5 years of doing this, we have officially crossed 230 deals closed, like at the closing table. And I'm super stoked on that. And the goal is to hit 350. Thank you. The goal is to hit 350 by the end of this year. And next year, the goal is to be pacing at minimum 200 a year, minimum 200 to 250 a year of deals closed in 2025. And here's what I'm realizing, guys. I'm not going to do that by, it's funny. Like you think like, okay, the way to do that is you run up your PPC spend, you run up your ad spend, you hire more cold callers, you do all these things, right? And I've realized that the answer for us doing that very often isn't, it's not going to be by me hiring a call center. Like that may have to happen. But like the key is what? Is me focusing on Samsung shit. If I do that, I do more master classes, we grow the brand, we do all the things that we're supposed to do. We attract more private capital with lending, and we do more JVs with dispositions with Zasha, all these things. We'll for free, without any spend, we'll hit 250 deals a year. And I love that Marlon understands that his zone of genius is, I say Samsung shit. For Marlon, it's Marlon Johnson shit, right? It's running across America. It's being the best damn high performance coach there is. It's showing people how to level up their mindsets. And he can't, that is probably, I think Marlon, you would agree that stuff is the highest leverage stuff that you could do.
It was 8:02.
Yeah, I mean it's like I am starting to realize it is that took me a while, and honestly it's still a weird transition because I want people to understand this. I grew up with a do-it-yourself attitude, and I think we've actually spoken about this on this podcast, that at one point my assistant changed her name in the Slack channel to "How can I help?" Right? Because I just wasn't letting her, I wasn't offloading and letting her help enough because I always wanted to get in, but that was spending my time and attention. And so that's huge. And that's what's super nice, Sam and Alejandro, you guys get this. Because I've been so unplugged from home and because I've been away, I've actually been able to break out of all of my routines, which I'm a very routine individual. And as a result, and I understand now why CEOs, why these guys who run Fortune 500 companies and gals who are founders every now and then take these month-long sabbaticals, 3-month-long sabbaticals before returning back with a new innovation. Breaking away has allowed me to not just break away from my positive routines, but also my negative routines and old behaviors, and realize if I pick them back up at this point, that's me making a conscious choice to go back to an old life. That I don't need to do that. I can go into a new reality. And so I've been passing off a lot to her because I can't. I can't. Like, I actually don't have time to be at my computer. Being on this call with y'all right now is the longest time I've been in front of my screen all day.
So I love this. I love this. Marlon, you and I had I think it was last week. It was Friday. You and I had a call, a Zoom call. It was just you and me. And it was for the mastermind that we were in, but it just ended up being you and me. And you and I were probably on that call for an hour and a half. And then you said it. You were like, it's the longest I've been in one place, like not on the run in the last like 50 days, which is insane. So I want everyone to understand this. This is really important. And I also want people to realize this, that when I say these specific things, we're talking about the seasons that Marlon is in right now. We're talking about the seasons that I'm in right now, right? That Alejandro's in right now. So a year ago, I shouldn't be focusing on things that I'm focusing on. 2 years ago, I shouldn't be that either. So what I want you guys to do, especially for those of you guys who are a little bit newer and watching this, forward pace, right? This is a year in advance, 2 years in advance, if you're even of our avatar. Marlon and I are so very different, but we also very much have the same avatar in the essence that we're brand builders. We're brand builders. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. That is our highest and best activity, our highest and best leverage. And so what I want everyone to start doing is understanding, it doesn't have to be an assistant, executive assistant. You have to start understanding that the people that you hire in your business around you, they literally have one job. Whatever you hire for them, in my opinion, it's actually completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. Like the role, the rules and responsibilities, all that kind of stuff. Everyone that you hire around you has one goal, and that's to allow you to only focus on your highest and best use. That is it. Like, I want everyone to understand that is actually the psychology of hiring. And so we're at a point, guys, where it's so phenomenal to see this. We're looking at lending heavily. Marlon, like you and I lend a lot together. And I want to take lending a lot more seriously because I just understand it's an infinite ROI, right? Especially the way that you and I do it. And And like, guys, how is Marlon, how are we going to go and build gigantic lending companies? I will probably lend out at least $1 million in the next 12 months, probably more actually. Yeah, probably way more. But let's just say at the very least 7 figures of money lent out. I don't really know much about lending. I really don't. Marlon, are you a pro at like understanding every form of securement on earth and all the paperwork and all that shit? No, and I'm not either. Like, I really don't understand most of it. A lot of it goes over my head. But you know what we've done is I attracted by doing Sam Singh stuff, guys. I didn't actually go out and hire. By doing Sam Singh stuff, speaking on stages, marketing secrets, my master classes, speaking about business the way that I do it, crushing deals the way that we crush them, right? And teaching people how to be business owners. You know what I did, guys? I attracted the right freaking human being who came to me and said, "Hey, Sam, I'm on a team. That team's not, that team is parting ways. I want to jump on a better ship that's going to take me a lot farther." And I asked this person, I said, "Hey, like, what's going on? What are you interested in as a human being?" It's like, this person was way too good to just be like a cold caller, lead manager, or closer. I'm like, you have the makings of a director, right? And guys, if you guys haven't seen episodes 73 and 74 of Think Big, are all about the psychologies of hiring directors. Phenomenal episodes. And this person comes to me and said, "I want to learn about lending because I understand that being the bank is the most important thing." So this person now, on my behalf, essentially, is going and paying down that ignorance debt for me. They're going into all the lending masterminds, the PML masterminds. They're going through all the coursework. They're learning all the forms of deals, all the underwriting, all the securement processes, all the paperwork, right? They're learning all of it. And they're going to be my operator in that side of the business, in that funnel of the business, right? And what are they allowing me to do? They allow me to not have to spend my time focusing on that shit. So I can spend my time going and speaking on stages, doing podcasts, creating content, doing Sam Singh shit, which attracts what? It attracts private capital. So if I just keep doing that, guys, like, for me to lend $1 million, one of the worst things I can do is spend my time trying to figure out the million different ways to lend $1 million. It sounds so counterintuitive, but it really isn't, guys. Don't get me wrong. Like, of course, I'm going to know all the things to be responsible. But the reality is, what moves the needle most for me is doing all the stage stuff. It's doing all the appearances. It's doing all the meeting the people, and because all that stuff drives the capital. And then I'm using a director who works with me to go and pay down the ignorance debt, so I don't have to take a break and I don't have to slow down in doing what is my highest and best use. Right? That's the key. And I want everyone to start understanding in your business. I look at so many people who we do hot seats with, and I constantly find that they have so much potential in them. And then you do a time audit, and then I find out that they spend the majority of their time not doing anything close to their highest and best use. And like, that's really all that matters. Really all that matters. So I love that. Alejandro, I want to hear from you, man. What do you think is, knowing yourself? I have a really good idea because we're such good friends. What do you think is your highest and best use?
My highest and best use, and this is based off like business.
Yeah,
anything?
For you to achieve all of your goals.
Yep.
Right? Financially, in your business, everything. If you had to pick 1 or 2 or 3 things that only you are uniquely qualified to do, that move the needle the most, what are those things?
Honestly, what moves me the most in my business is me solving problems. Solving big problems.
Okay, go deeper than that. What type of problems are we talking about?
Well, there's a lot of issues that happens behind the scenes in the companies that partners starts to freak out, employees starts to freak out, and I just come in, analyze what's going on, give it almost like a bird's eye view of the situation, and just sit down and tell them, okay, cool, this is what we're going to do and how to fix it. And then we propel forward. And that's honestly, I have the best days when I solve the biggest problems throughout my day, which is what's considered fire in other companies. Oh my God, there's a fire going on. We're like, oh, just a normal day in the office. Let's solve it. What's going on? Now, some are very highly stressful. Some are just funny.
Mhm.
However, once they get done, the peace of mind of it being done and having everyone else at a calmer state, right? Because Marlon, you know, when someone just comes in with some negative energy, it really, really distracts you. It bothers you. It sucks. It drains your personal energy out. So just being able to calm everyone else around you that you have to interact with is one of the best things, one of the best feelings I can have.
No, let me ask you this,
Mhm.
right? Your goal, your highest and best use is solving problems. Whether that's from an executive standpoint, as a CEO, as a business owner, do you think that your ability to be potent in solving your problems, if you were solving problems 8 hours a day, right, 10
Mhm.
hours a day, 12 hours a day,
Mhm.
I think you wouldn't be solving the best and biggest problems. I think you'd probably be doing like small shit, right? And let me ask you this. If you, and I want people to take this in, if you spend a lot of your time solving small problems, do you think that you'd be able to solve the biggest problems the best way?
Absolutely not.
Okay. So, and guys, this is something that it took a long time for me to understand this, right? Because I came in this industry and I came from an industry prior that we were told that you just basically work. Right? Don't get me wrong. Like I'm a workhorse. I love working on business. I love business. But what I've constantly understood about myself and around the people around me is that we've been taught to just work and work and work and work. And if we're not working, we're not being productive. And you know what that leads to? Your first 2 years of doing business, guys, is you become obsessed. And I get to a point where, guys, like I feel guilty if I'm not working. Like it actually, like I feel guilt ridden. And I feel like, oh man, like if I take a day off, I feel like shit about it. Here's the reality. A lot of times you're not solving big problems. A lot of times you're working on things that you shouldn't even be working on. And what you end up doing is you spend a lot of your time doing low leverage, low value tasks just to occupy your schedule, right? And none of it matters. None of it actually moves the needle. And what I don't know, and maybe I'm going to be proven wrong soon, but I'm at a point now where I completely believe that instead of solving 10 problems a day or doing 10 tasks a day, the goal should be just to pick the 2 to 3 biggest problems that move the needle the most. And honestly, fuck everything else. Like literally everything else. The emails can wait, the texts can wait, the calls can wait, but identify the most important things in your business and just do those. If you have 100 problems to solve in a month, solve like 5 of them, but just make sure that they're right 5. And in the aggregate, in a long enough time horizon, I think you move the needle the most. Marlon, is that something you agree with? You and I usually do things really differently.
Yeah, no, it's actually I'm very much in alignment with this. This is, if people are familiar with Pareto's principle, this is the 80-20. And 80-20 basically states, for anyone who's new to that principle, that 80% of the results that any person or company achieves is actually a derivative of the 20% of the actions that they're taking. So you're going to find that 80% of a company's revenue comes from 20% of their clients. Percent of the sales comes from 20% of the sales team. And 80-20 is actually not a hard set rule. It's actually the minimal ratio, because in higher businesses, you'll actually see the ratio be things closer to 85-15, 90-10, 93-7. And so basically what it states is there's a small amount of activity that produces the most amount of results. Like that's leverage. That's the name of business. That's the game of business. And from a action standpoint, I'm a huge believer of prioritizing and effectively looking for, I only have 24 hours in a day, and I am a man, I am a mortal, I will die. I only have so much attention and energy to use each day. What do I want to point at? Arguably, what is the highest leverage activity? And the truth is, in the beginning, you're experimenting. You're finding out the highest leverage activity for someone who's starting off today with no resources might be getting on the phone and cold calling, right? It might be going out and knocking on doors. It might be going out and hustling in the streets, and you do all those things until you can buy back your time right? You can use money. Money should be used to buy your time back. That is the highest use of money that you will ever be able to spend, is to buy your time back by finding other people who are willing to sell you their time at a discount. And quick reminder, I'm going to pass it back to Sam because he knows I'll tangent if anyone is willing to sell you their time at any price, because your time is so infinitely valuable, people's time is so infinitely valuable. First, which is $5 an hour, $10 an hour, $50 an hour, $500 an hour. No matter what they charge you, they're selling their time at a discount. So I'm going to pass it back to you, but Sam, my answer is 100% look for the highest leverage activity. And if you can't identify 2 to 3 and you say, I have 20 of these tasks that are most important, because I used to do that, it meant when I was doing that, I really, really sucked at prioritizing. I really sucked at being able to identify which of my activities were more important. And I was getting caught. I got caught up in busy. I still to this day sometimes get caught up doing busy work.
I love it. I love it. So I want to piggyback on one thing you said, and I want to prove a point. You said the point of money is to buy back your time, and I would say the second point of money is to increase your leverage. I think that's the key, right? And to drive this home, you guys know I'm a massive fan. My entrepreneurial role model truly is Alex Hormozi. And we always want to know this, guys. Do you guys want to know how he actually spends his time? Like, do you guys know what he does all day? What he does literally 7 hours a day, like 6-7 days a week? You guys know what it is?
I'm gonna flex
actually have an idea.
Flexing the biceps.
That's definitely one of those. What do you think, Alejandro?
He wakes up first thing in the morning, knock out the most important things, and he does not take any meetings until 3 p.m. At 5 p.m., I think 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., he said, it's over. I'm going to take my walk with my wife and restart it tomorrow. But he's locked in. He's closed himself in the closet, put some headphones on, little fancy timer like the one you gave me, Sam, right here. Gets locked in. And that's it.
When he is working, when he's at that desk, he spends on average 6 to 7 hours a day at his desk. Okay. I've just found this out. You guys know what he's doing for those 6 to 7 hours?
I would imagine if now that the book's done, if the books are finished, I would imagine he's spending time figuring out how to make things simpler.
So according to the most recent information that I've gotten, is he spends about 6 to 7 hours a day, still to this day, working on the book number 3.
Okay.
The reason is what? It is the highest leverage activity he can do. Spends a year, 2 years, 3 years of his life writing it. People are going to be buying that book 30, 40 years from now, right? It is the highest leverage thing he has in front of him. And he still does the meetings for his, for his portfolio. And there's a lot, I believe a lot of that is handled by Layla. And he makes a ton of content, obviously. But the majority of what he is identified for himself, because he is really good at the written word. There are people who are phenomenal, in visual communication. I would say he is too. But he understands about himself internally that he likes the written word more. And this is something that I didn't understand, but now I appreciate and I resonate with. You guys have seen this. You guys have seen me do Q&As on Instagram stories where I just type essays. I just write essays, right? I don't do a video recording. I don't do like voiceovers. I just sit there and I type it out. And the reason why is, for some reason, when I start articulating my thoughts about business and scaling and growth in the written word, I find I understand it better, and I find that I communicate it better. And what Alex Hormozi has gotten to, now on his 3rd book, is he completely understands that is probably pound for pound the best thing that he can do to achieve his goals, is to just bring business education right to the front line for everybody globally. And yes, he's making YouTube content, but I think he realizes that the book will live longer and it will go farther in an exponential value, and it will reach more people. I think that's just the way it is. Yes.
So what's interesting is, and Sam, you hopped on a few minutes late at the beginning of this call. I mentioned to Alejandro that I've been having a lot of time to think on this run and not a ton of time to execute. And something that I came back and it falls very much in alignment with what you're saying with Hormozi and spending the 6 hours per day writing the book. Essentially, he's spending 6 hours a day, put another way, creating the most exceptional product that he can possibly creating something that does the job so damn well that it effectively, if it gets into the hand of even one person, it will organically spread throughout the entire marketplace because of how well put together it is. So essentially, he's taking care of client fulfillment each day, like through the use of building this product, this thing so damn good that it basically will sell itself over and over and over again. And as I hopped on here, I said to Alejandro, I said, I realized that my job is to essentially create the same thing, to come back and keep reimagining. Very much Steve Jobs and the iPhone, right? Like how methodical and obsessive he was about this thing needs to be perfect for the customer, for the client. Jeff Bezos and Amazon. This thing needs to be perfect. Elon Musk and every Tesla except the Cybertruck. This thing needs to be perfect. Because if it's good, it will just, you can get behind that like a strong product, like actually having something that does what it's supposed to do and that people both want and need and are willing to pay for is the highest use of, in my opinion, like if the founder is that guy to create those sort of tools.
Awesome. I want to hit this question real quick just because I want to make sure we don't forget it. Mitchell Newby asks, Sam, is your sales team all in-house American or are they virtual overseas? So all my acquisitions reps are American, but we are not in-house in an office. We're all virtual. Funny enough, we'll talk about this later, but there's going to be a conversation in the next 24 months about building a legitimate headquartered office. So Marlon, you're 100% right. And what you basically talked about is product. I've realized this. And it's funny, I always put these things out onto my social media to see who they resonate with, because the people who resonate with it are people who think at a higher level, in my opinion, sometimes. And I put out this post, and I put out 2 posts. One of them said, and this is what I'm getting after, is greatness is an iterative process. That is something that like I have truly learned and absorbed now, is that if you want to create a special business, if you want to create a special product, if you want to be the best damn high performance coach on earth, if you want to create funnels and marketing and you're like me, you want to create master classes that are worth more than people, like literally guys, I know who the best mentors in the game are, right? And I may not be able to compete with their level of experience yet because I'm just shy of 3 years in the game, right? But I look at the products that they've created. I look at their courses. I look at their modules. I look at all these things and I'm like, are these things worth the 20, 30, 40K that I'm even paying for them, right? Or can I do something even greater? Not for my own sake, but for the sake of the ecosystem, for the sake of understanding that in a capitalistic society, that if I just give to everyone equally and freely, what happens to everybody? The bar gets raised higher, right? And that's good for everyone. And so what I've learned is that greatness, especially for me in my master classes and all these things that I want to do, it truly is an iterative process. Like it takes iterations. A lot of times I think people think they're going to knock it out of the park with their business right off the bat, or they're going to create an amazing product, an amazing coaching product, an amazing mentorship, an amazing, whatever your business model is. For me, in the beginning, I used to spend so much time thinking that I'm going to create a PowerPoint presentation and I'm just going to call it a masterclass and it's going to be good because I know what I'm talking about. And that was it. Now I've realized, guys, I want to start crafting a presentation minimum a month to a month and a half before I ever present it to anybody publicly. Minimum a month to a month and a half. Why? Because I'm going to create it. And then I'm going to let it sit on ice for 5 days. And then I'm going to come back to it and then realize this shit sucks. And I'm going to revamp it and build and disintegrate it from the ground up and redo it. And then just redo it over and over and over and over again. And Marketing Secrets, which I did about a month ago now, was easily by far the greatest masterclass I've ever done. And it's by the numbers, by the KPIs of what to expect, when you do influencer stuff, it trumped everybody. Like the conversion on the show rate, on the retention rate, on all the stuff that we did, the KPIs of it were through the roof. And I have one thing to thank for it. Actually, two things. One, the marketing, which was phenomenal, dark aesthetic marketing. But guys, that marketing, I sat on that for like 3 months of just brainstorming, ideation, product ideation, marketing ideation. Hell, even the music behind the stories and the reels and everything on it. And what happened is, even though I only have 4,000 followers, and even though I have a following that is 1/50th the size of some of these industry leaders, we still had 600 people live for 5.5 hours. And there's literally like 2 or 3 guys that can pull that off in the industry for that long. And one of them is freaking Pace Morby. And I'm like, that guy's a million times bigger than me. And then how the hell did I get that level of show rate? Because I just obsessed with product ideation, right? Greatness is an iterative process. Marlon, I'm so stoked that you said that, because I think people underestimate what that is. And now I'm looking at all of these guys in front of me or around me who are up and coming influencers, or they're bigger than me, and like they're making good money and they have brands. And what I'm seeing is a lot of them are not growing because they are spending too much time trying to create something really fast to get a quick cash grab. And you know what ends up happening? It's not great. They don't create greatness. And then what ends up happening is they go do something really kind of subpar, sell it, make a lot of money. And then 3 months later, when they run out of that money, because influencers do influencer shit, they try and do it again. And then every single time they do it, what happens to their results? They just start dwindling, right? Because eventually over time, you brand yourself as a human being who basically will offer nothing good to the marketplace because you're too obsessed with taking the short route to making money. And so what I've constantly realized is this, guys, Rob Rivas is here. Rob, good to see you, dude. Love you. Always love seeing you here. Rob Rivas and I were chatting through DMs, and we were talking about all these companies, right? All these service-based companies in the industry, and how basically so many of them absolutely suck. Absolutely suck. And the reason is because they don't understand product iteration, marketing iteration, and just legitimately giving value at a high level. So guys, like, what does this mean for me, right? For Marlon, he's having a lot of time to think, because he's literally just, dude, what'd you do, 20 miles today?
41.
Shit, my bad. 41 miles today. 41 miles today, right? That's a lot of time to be thinking. Obviously, you can't be at your computer for 41 miles, right? That's a lot of time to think. And what's amazing is this. When Marlon does get to get back home and he does get to sit down and he gets to shut the world out, right? As long as he can do that, this is my thing for Marlon right now, is I think when Marlon comes back into the mindset manner, the world will want a piece of him again, right? Right now, the world can't have a piece of him because he's hard to reach. He's off wherever the hell he is in the country. He is like legitimately impossible to reach right now. And then when he comes back into the world, as a hot seat, I want to say this, the world is going to come back to you. Everyone's going to pay attention. Everyone's going to want to know what's happening, what opportunities came from it, right? Because at the end of the day, you're committing such an amazing milestone that basically very few people have ever done, right? And it's going to draw a lot of attention. And then my thing with Marlon is this. If Marlon is able to quiet the noise that will inevitably come, that he has so rightly deserved, and if he just locks himself in a cave, right, 30, 40, 50, 60 days minimum, in my opinion, right, he can move the needle exponentially. And he has the discipline to do so. The question for all of you watching is, what's ahead of you. What's ahead of you. I know what's ahead of me. I just need to continually lock myself away as much as I need to. And what's really funny, guys, is this. is over the last like 60 to 80 days, it's probably like 60 to 70 days actually. I've been on a travel hiatus. I haven't traveled. I haven't spoken on stage. I haven't even done a podcast outside of this one. I've not done like I've not been a guest. I've said no to all speaking and no to all travel. And that was tough. A lot of you guys are at Squad Up Summit, right? All my friends want me to be there. I feel the FOMO. I get it. Here's what's crazy. Oh, we just saw some Marlon right now. Here's what's crazy, Alejandro. In the last 60, 70 days, bro, I have at least, let me do the math on this real quick. I have at least 16x'd my net worth in the last 70 days of just being home.
Let's go.
And
Let's go.
that's huge. That's huge. And what's crazy is that I understand now after doing that, what moves the needle the most, right? Is more Sam Singh shit, right? More Marlon Johnson shit. And so I love it. So guys, for you guys, right, we're coming up on 3 minutes here. I want to hear it. We can end it with this one. Real quick, Mitchell asks, where's the best place to find your private lender? You're looking at 3 guys who attract a lot of private capital because we do a lot of dope shit and we showcase it. So naturally, we don't go and raise private capital. We attract it. Private capital comes to us. So Mitchell, I would say shift the mindset behind it. I will also do a masterclass later this year, all about raising private capital and like how I've raised millions and millions and millions and how I'm going to be doing a fund of funds later this year. That being said, I'm going to show you guys how to raise it like the typical way, the boring way. But I would say start showcasing and documenting your day-to-day. That's like the biggest thing you can do.
I don't know why that was so funny to me, bro. I almost lost it. It was like a light flex. And it just came across like, yeah, we don't look for private money, man. We attract them.
But no, it's true. Like you really, that was like the biggest mindset shift of, I don't ask people for money. I give people the opportunity to invest in a deal.
That's it. That's lit. I guys, we don't mean it to be braggadocious, but it's literally the truth. Marlon and I spoke at this extremely high level mastermind last year in Las Vegas, and I literally had everyone take out a piece of paper and write this phrase: "I raise private capital," and I had them cross out the word "raise," like literally scribble it out, and then write the word "attract" over it. And then I showed them how I attract private capital, and a lot of it just through social media stuff. So Mitchell, I would say start showcasing what you're doing, and most importantly, be intentional with how you showcase it. Right? If you just say, "Hey, I bought a house," and that's it, good for you. Mitchell's the only one winning. But if I said, "Hey, I bought a house, and my private money lender who gave me the money for the down payment is making 15% return or XYZ, or I'm spending the day with my private money lender touring the house that we just bought together," guess what you did to your audience psychology? You just showed them that there is a way to work with you. So be more intentional with not just showing what you're doing, but also showing that there is a door for other people to be involved. That's really it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Is it okay if I ask each of you guys very quick question? Sam, unless you have like this hammer ready to close it out.
No, you go for it. You go
wait for it. Okay. My question would be, especially for you, Sam, because you inspire me in so many different ways. And one of the ways is how fast you have increased your net worth, how fast you propelled forward, how fast you got into those freaking big rooms, bro. Like I don't even want to get into it. Let's just know you inspire me in so many different ways, bro. And I appreciate your friendship. And my question to you is, from all these years that you've been working consistently, just give me 3 things that you're not going to do moving forward that you did previous years.
That I'm not going to do.
That you're not going to do. And maybe if we have a little bit of time, why? Just really quick. I know it's going to be tough to fit it in.
That's such a good question. Wow. First and foremost, thank you. I love you for saying that. It means the world to me. It truly does, the kind words. Okay, that is such a tough question. It's a good one. That's a really good question. Okay, so Number one is I am never going to this is true, and I'm going to try to articulate this the right way. I am never moving forward going to do any one-to-one money making activity.
Into one money making activity?
One-to-one. What I mean by that is very simple, guys. Is I understand that at the pace that I'm moving, at the scale that I'm at, and the scale that I should be at, right, with my master classes, with all the things that I'm doing and I have plans to do, there are ways to make money. Calling a seller is a one-to-one, right? Talking to wholesalers for dispositions is a one-to-one, right? Talking to an agent trying to get them to sell you a home or sign with you or whatever, that's a one-to-one. I will never ever in my life again moving forward do anything that is one-to-one. It is the commitment I've made to myself, and what I'm trying to understand and try to commit myself to is understand that I can only spend my time doing 10-to-1, 15-to-1, 20-to-1. I have to be obsessed with increasing that, what I call leverage multiplier.
Honestly, I think we can actually make this our next episode and deep dive into it. Because Sam, you got me triggered. I want to know why. Please tell me why. Are you guys down to just talk about this next week?
I'm super down for that.
I'd love to.
Hell yeah.
I'd love to. I'll finally get my iPad working, and then I'll show everyone how I track leverage multipliers. That is literally the number one thing that's moved the needle for me, is understanding how to quantify leverage.
I'm excited for that. All right, let's wrap it up. Marlon, what you got for us?
Yeah, guys. So, again, appreciate y'all for hanging out. Appreciate Rob, Mitchell, Tawana, all of y'all showing up in the chat again as usual. Do me a favor. If you got value from today's episode, make sure you pay your dues. And paying your dues looks like this. It looks like taking this live stream right now, taking this and sharing it out with a friend, sharing it with your mom, sharing it with your grandma, sharing it with your neighbor, sharing it with your cousin. Send it to Uncle George. Like, everybody needs this link, and drop a comment. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was. But next week we'll be back on episode 79, and we're going to deep dive further into that question, because Alejandro just asked a phenomenal question, and I already know Sam, his brain is starting to put together a masterclass on this. So, guys, we appreciate you, and we'll see you back here next week, next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Think Big Podcast.